Welcome to Speedrunner Reviews. In this series I'll be analysing games using the mindset of speedrunning. This video will look at the game from three perspectives. First, the casual experience, which is how most people will first play the game. Next we'll discuss the speedrun experience, including all the interesting tech and how well the game holds up as a speed game. Finally, we'll look at the tool-assisted speedrun, showing what the game looks like when pushed to the theoretical limit. If you already know the game and want to jump straight to the speedrun part, I've left timestamps in the description. Before we get stuck into it, if you do end up enjoying this video, please consider subscribing to keep up to date. I'll have more videos coming out like this regularly, and subscriptions help out the channel a bunch. So the game we're looking at today is Alex Kidd in Shinobi World. It's a bit of an odd one. It's like an Alex Kidd game, which is Sega's main mascot, but they've mixed it in with the Shinobi franchise, which is another very popular franchise of Sega. So to my understanding, a lot of the sort of characters and core gameplay mechanics are inspired by Shinobi and sort of references it a lot. Although to be honest, I've never really played much of Shinobi before, so I wouldn't know all of the references that pop up. From what I have played of Shinobi though, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Alex Kidd in Shinobi World is a more enjoyable game than the original Shinobi is. Although it might be just that I've never got fully stuck into Shinobi enough to enjoy it. So we see here an excellent level of polish for a Master System game. For example, this really cool animation where you can like swing off poles and stuff. And we have some really nice levels with moving tiles in the background. I don't know why, but just the vibes of this level is so comfy. And you always get into situations where you end up with lots of sprites on screen. For example, when you get this tornado power up and tornadoes just fly anywhere. It's pretty impressive the Master System could handle this actually. Not to mention the part of the game where you fight a literal helicopter and have all the helicopter sprites flying around. One thing that sticks out about this game is the difficulty. If you're not sure sort of how the boss patterns work and where to expect jumps and stuff, you're going to have a very hard time getting through this game. But in my opinion, that sort of adds to the enjoyment of the game, because the life farming system in this game is pretty interesting. You'll notice that I'm picking up health there, but if you have max health and try and pick up another health, that is how you get an extra life. So in the early stages, you're sort of incentivized not to take any damage, so that you can pick up a whole bunch of extra lives and be safer in the later game. And if you get familiar enough with the game, there are a few secrets that you can go to just to grab extra lives and power-ups and stuff. That makes your time through the game a bit easier. I don't know who would have thought to jump down the waterfall here with risk of death and everything, but you get a life and this fun tornado power-up. Pretty good place to go. I think one thing that will stick out about this game is sort of the length. It's quite short, but again that's not too bad because you can sort of pop it in and play it within 15-20 minutes if you know what you're doing, and it's an enjoyable little playthrough. I think the other reason why this game is so polished as well is that it came out in 1990. It's not the latest, but it is quite late for a Master System game, and the Alex Kidd franchise was well established at this point. Out of the three Alex Kidd games that I'm pretty familiar with, Miracle World, Lost Stars, and this one, I'd say this one's probably my favourite. The only thing that puts me off sometimes is the difficulty. If you're a bit rusty, it can be hard picking up this game again. So very worth giving this game a try, especially if you like polished 2D platforming, or if anything else you at least get to see this wonderful blob character here. Alright, we'll move on to looking at the speedrun now. We've got the speedrun leaderboard here, you can see there's 17 runs on it. Funnily enough, that's actually more runs than what's on the original Shinobi Master System leaderboard. Sort of ties into my theory that the Alex Kidd version is a little bit more fun. If you look at these top times, you can see that it's quite a competitive game and quite a quick day. All these numbers up the top, all these players up the top that you're seeing here are sort of legends in the Master System speedrun community. For example, I've had lots of chats with Rasmus about various games, and Mephistus with Land of Illusion, and Berlin Dude just grinds down games to a crazy degree. Berlin Dude will put in like 10,000 attempts or something at a Master System game, with he's like miles ahead of second place, but it just shows the dedication that he's got to these kind of games. In fact, Berlin Dude's attempt counter for this world record was in the 8,000s, and that just goes to show you how much effort has been put into optimizing this record down. We have the category broken up into two subsections. We've got no up, down, left, right, and up, down, left, right. Up, down, left, right should be faster. It's just that not as many people have optimized that run. It's a little bit controversial in speedrunning. Do you allow pressing up, down, left, and right on the controller at the same time? So you can do this in a TAS, and we will see it in the TAS section later. But with RTA, a lot of games will ban it because you can't physically press the left and the right buttons down together. Except in the Master System. There were some weird low-quality controllers released in Brazil for the Master System, where if you push hard enough, you can actually push left and right and up and down at the same time. So that's why a lot of Master System games will actually allow doing that on the leaderboards. I do think that it's a good thing the categories are separated though, because you wouldn't want to track down those controllers just to do normal runs of this game. Alright, so the run we're looking at today is Berlin Dude's 7:11 world record, RTA. We can see already there's a few different things going on. Berlin Dude is utilizing these poles to do that fast spinny fireball attack, and it shouldn't be too surprising why. Alex moves very quickly after doing it. One little thing that Berlin Dude's utilizing are wall kicks as well, which I didn't talk about in the casual section, but that's some more mechanics to this game, which are just really, really cool to see. Probably one of your earliest example of wall kicks in a game, actually. You can see sort of the strategy taking place that Berlin Dude's not slowing down to kill enemies. Where possible, he'll just jump over them. A lot of enemies will have iframes. For example, that dude who was firing his sword at you, you can only hit him when the sword's actually out. If you try and hit him now like this, it won't really work. We have these sections in this game that sort of look like they're about to be non-linear. Luckily they never get too complicated really. There's a lot of block breaking minimization, and then Berlin Dude's doing a lot of ducking under blocks to weave in there as early as possible. So Berlin Dude makes his way to the first stage here, and you can see the boss has a pretty strong resemblance to, well, Mario, especially when he goes small. And the boss even starts like shooting fireballs if you let the fight go on for too long as well. So yeah, it's basically it's Mario. Alright, next up we get the very, very comfy level. So Berlin Dude's going to be doing a lot of jumping with slashing, because if you're slashing on the ground, it goes a lot slower. The other thing about this game is it's got a lot of RNG in it. Whether enemies sort of bounce up or down or whatever is all determined by RNG. So not only do you need technical skill to run this game, you need quite a bit of luck, which probably explains the attempt counter with Berlin Dude as well. Now we have a few cool skips like this one here. You're supposed to go up on that pole to zoom up through the blocks, but you can do this very cheeky jump up through those ones to get through. We also have the cool little skip in this water level. So normally you'd have to sort of swim down through the water. That's obviously quite slow. So Berlin Dude's going to be jumping up on top of the level. You're not really supposed to get on top of those boxes there, but you can make the jump with a wall jump. Same as these ones here. Just speeds it up a bit more. And coming up is that second boss, which I showed before. It's called Heli and just spits a bunch of helicopters at you. But this boss is incredibly RNG heavy, so it can make or break a run at any point. And I remember playing through this game casually, trying not to die was actually quite difficult, because the helicopter sort of just hit you like all the time. And Berlin Dude also makes use of that thing that I showed before. There's like a little seeker down here with a tornado you can ride up. So it lasts for a little bit, and you can also make a special jump at the end of the tornado off the rope there to save a bit more time. Now this next level here is pretty scary with all the falling lava from the roof, but it turns out that you can manipulate this by killing this slime enemy here. Because that spawns 4 different enemies, it sort of despawns all the lava coming up ahead here, and it saves a little bit of time. Unfortunately, I didn't know about that when I made the TAS of this game, so that would be a tiny improvement that could be incorporated into a future run. And with all the health that Berlin Dude saves by doing this, he can just take damage pretty much everywhere. So in this next room here, why ride the cart across when you can literally just jump across these things here and take damage? And then he also takes damage a little bit later on in the level, because why wait for the cycle when you can just take damage here? So that's why despawning the fire with the slime does save time, because otherwise you'd be damage boosting through the fire and then couldn't damage boost through here. Keeping with the theme of weird bosses in this game, we have the lobster boss. As a kid, I was really confused playing this because you can only damage the lobster while it's jumping. If you try and hit it on the ground, it just doesn't work. So a couple of hits on the lobster and it's not too bad. They comment in the GDQ run that they're very uncertain about what the lobster is actually shooting at you, whether it's like lemons or butter or whatever it is. It'll always be a mystery, I think. So Berlin Dude sort of makes his way through the last level, and then we have this big boss rush section at the end. Now, if we didn't think that boss was already inspired enough by Mario, well, stuff in the next room also seems pretty inspired by Mario, to be honest. And I don't know why they made this choice, but I'm really glad they didn't include the helicopter boss in the boss rush. It's literally just Mario, then the lobster thing. And of course, then the final boss. Berlin Dude does some really tricky wall jumps to get up there too. It's quite impressive, that bit. Now, when I said before the game was kind of difficult, the main reason is the last boss here. When I was playing it on an actual console without save states or the internet or anything to look up stuff. Berlin Dude makes it look super easy, and if you do know when the boss is vulnerable, it is quite easy. But if you're not sure, it can be pretty challenging to play through this bit. But that's the end of the run. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting speedrun overall. There's not too many crazy glitches in the RTA route, although we will see a few in the TAS that we will look at in a second. There's a bit of RNG to the run, but if you want like a solid platforming challenge little 7-minute run, this could be quite an enjoyable one to pick up. Alright, so we'll move on to looking at the TAS now. The TAS was made by myself and it's in 5 minutes 27, so we're looking about 2 minutes faster than the RTA world record. Although as we'll see in a second, these really should not be directly compared. The TAS is going to be very, very broken. Alright, so we start off with the first level. For some reason, killing that enemy saves time, and with these fireballs, you can preserve some of your speed coming off of them. So if you press the right button after a fireball, you snap back to your normal walking speed, but if you don't press anything, you sort of keep your boosted speed. So that's what we're going to be doing here, and it saves a whole bunch of time. So that first level is pretty standard platforming, but we're going to see in a second, the second level is very broken. Alright, so we jump onto a ladder, and then yeah, it's a bit weird. And that's that whole room done. So the ladder glitch obviously saves a whole bunch of time, and here's how it works. You jump on and you press up and down at the same time. That causes Alex to zip up a bit. Next we jump onto this new ladder, and I actually do the screen transition. In the screen transition, in the previous TAS we thought you couldn't preserve your speed across that, but in this TAS I found that you actually could by zipping into the screen transition from the ladder. So that's why that ladder stuff saves so much time, because you don't just skip climbing up, you also skip running to the right across the other screen. And ladders are quite common in this game, so we're going to be doing a lot of these zips. It works on every ladder, you just have to press up and down at the same time. Now we have this comfy level again. There's not too much to say about this normal platforming section, but the inside section of the level does have a couple of ladders in it. So normally in this inside section you have to climb all the way down, but why do that when you can just zip across to the exit there using the ladder? The zips were incredibly hard to control, but with TAS position you can sort of just do trial and error really and just tweak things until it works out the way you want. You have the next level, which we're just going to be jumping across the top. With TAS precision we can get up there without too much slowdown and use damage boost to help us across, but it's not much faster than RTA overall. Now the helicopter boss is absolutely nuts in RTA, it kills all the runs, but in a TAS we can just manipulate where the helicopters go. So it ends up being really, really quick, and you hit basically every single helicopter as it comes out. So yeah, that's probably the quickest helicopter boss you're ever going to see. It was an absolute pain to manipulate it though. So we saw that ladders were quite broken in this TAS, but it turns out that the tornado power-up also can use up, down, and left, right to do zips. So this wasn't known about in the previous TAS, it was sort of a new addition to this one, and we can see we skipped basically the entire level there. Now a little fun thing in this TAS, I made all the lemon pieces shoot to the right out of Rubster, except for maybe this last phase here. It's just like a little fun little TAS thing you can do. You don't need to do it, but it's just, you know, fun play around. The last level also has another tornado here, so we jump down onto this little invisible platform to reach it in a second, and we go across and then we just zip to the end of the level. Again, that saves a whole bunch of time, and those zips look easy, but they're actually pretty difficult. In the next room here, we zip across the ladder to get into the door, and we actually have more health here because we use that tornado zip than the previous TAS, so it's going to save a little bit of time extra on that as well. And we make all the lemon pieces shoot in the same direction again, because why not? It's just a bit of fun. And given we have extra health here, we can actually skip the wall jump strategy in this room just by damage boosting off the little diamond thing there. So given the final boss is pretty much the same as RTA, that's all I'll say about the TAS here. I'd highly recommend checking out this game casually, especially if you want a little window into Master System platforming and a fun little experience. The other thing worth checking out are both of the GD key runs. It's actually been in twice. So yeah, they're definitely an enjoyable watch. Thanks so much for watching.